Hey, what is going on, everyone? Meteorologist Jonathan Keg is with you. We are getting into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this big system that we've been highlighting for about the last week. The blizzard really starting to crank up. We've already had some nasty, severe weather, unfortunately, as expected, in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, stretching into Oklahoma as well. And now that threat for severe weather is going to move to the east and intensify a little bit as we get into the latter stages of the afternoon and into the evening. We're going to check up all on that in a couple of minutes. Right now, we have a tornado watch in East Texas until 6 o'clock this evening, 5 o'clock this evening, Central Time. And we'll likely see more where that came from. Right now, we are looking at some of the heavy snow and ice that is falling in places like South Dakota, into Nebraska, the front range of Colorado, into the panhandle of Nebraska. And we talked about, if you watched one of our earlier videos, that the bullseye jackpot totals on the cold side of this system, at least in the next 48 hours, was going to be right in here, maybe also extending up into parts of South Dakota as well. And then the Minnesota side of things into the northeast side, in and around Duluth, Lake Superior area as well. Hey, Lisa, good morning, almost afternoon. Hope you are doing well in Kentucky. Thanks so much for joining the live broadcast. We're going to get in on some of this weather. It's not going to be as intense, I don't think, for Kentucky, but we will get some of that rain really as we move into Wednesday and Thursday as well. So please, if you are tuning in, post where you're watching from in the comments. If you are finding this live stream helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It does help us out a lot to kind of push this out to more people to see what we are talking about. I'm going to zoom this out here. I'll turn off my telestration and show you just the massive scope of this as we kind of pull back. Look at this. We have heavy rain through Iowa. We still have some stronger thunderstorms going on in the south. This is where we have, or in the southern plains, I should say, this is where we have the tornado threat still at this hour. Tornado watch again until 6 o'clock Eastern time. That's going to be 5 o'clock local time. We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in the mix. Right now, the tornado threat has gone down just a little bit because all of these things are in a line. We do have one active tornado warning, though, so we can take a look at that if you're tuning in from East Texas. And this is pretty much just over the Red River onto the Texas side. So again, that is well within this severe thunderstorm, or this tornado watch, I should say, that goes until 5 o'clock. For reference, again, here is Texarkana. That is a little too wide. Texarkana, Paris, Texas. The Dallas-Fort Worth area, again, hit pretty hard earlier this morning. Waco at the bottom of your screen. There is that tornado report from this morning with the train spotter seeing damage, seeing the tornado itself earlier this morning. So we'll take it down local view here. We'll stop this and we'll take a look. You see where it's this red box where we have this severe thunderstorm warning. And it looks like that tornado warning may have just been allowed to expire. Yes, so it has been allowed to expire. There's still a little spin being picked up, but at least the rotation has broadened out enough where it's not able to produce a tornado, but one could be produced very, very quickly. Lisa said wind overturned 18-wheelers. Out west, the wind is crazy. I'm going to show you that in a second. Again, even where it's not doing anything, it's not raining, it's not snowing, we have a ton of wind. I'll show you that since we're talking about the wind, just from the perspective. These are, it's a little too far out, but this is the reported wind. So these are the actual wind reports coming in from official observing sites. And you see out in the panhandle of Nebraska, we have gusts now to 52 miles an hour. We have sustained winds of 37. So again, we talked at length in our last video that there is a set definition for a blizzard. It is hard to verify a blizzard. This is certainly Blizzard Alley, but you need to have 3 consecutive hours of sustained winds of 35 miles an hour. And if we hold that in the panhandle of Nebraska for another hour, I've been watching the reports come in over the last couple of hours, and we've had sustained winds in that ballpark. So we are well on our way to verifying a blizzard. What is going on, my man? Thank you for joining the live stream this morning, almost the afternoon. But, I mean, it is windy. It is nasty not to be outside. Again, Lisa mentioned a little bit ago that we did have the crazy report of the wind blowing down 18-wheelers. Again, there are high wind warnings in play all out through Iowa for a little bit later on tonight and into tomorrow, because this storm is just so massive that even if it's not raining, if it's not snowing, if it's not producing severe weather, it is still going to be very, very windy. So this is a major storm. We've been talking about this now for, since last week, and that is going to continue. So let me know where you are watching from. Again, if you're finding this video helpful, please give it a like. We're planning on going live a couple of times today, likely as we get into the early afternoon. I'm going to provide another update. We're going to check in on the environment in the south in terms of how that severe weather threat could play out a little bit later on. So be on the lookout for that. And if you subscribe, if you hit the alert bell, you'll be alerted to when we do go live again. And again, planning on somewhere in the early afternoon, likely when those tornado watches start to be issued by the National Weather Service, kind of break down what's going on. And then, of course, later on this afternoon into the evening, when the crux of that severe weather threat, potential tornado outbreak, gets underway. So to put a little bow on the upper Midwest, Northern Plains stuff before we get a little bit deeper into the severe weather side, and if I do have anybody watching from the Southern Plains or Deep South, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, please let me know, and we can jump right into the severe weather side of this. I don't want to waste your time. I know it's late in the morning, early into the afternoon, and I want to make sure that you are getting this information, because it could be a very ugly afternoon and evening. Taking you hour by hour in the Northern Plains. Again, the blizzard is ramping up. It is cranking up right now. We have the darker blue here. This is the future radar now. And note that we have a lot of pink still, so we have that straight up ice storm going in this part. We still have more sleet from La Crosse to the Twin Cities. This is going to be now about 6 o'clock this evening. Paul, hey, welcome to the live stream. Arkansas just raining in thunderstorms right now, light thunderstorms. Good to hear. Since you are here watching from that, we're gonna focus on parts of the plains and Deep South, and we're gonna transition to that severe weather threat. I do want to show you some things here, and I guess I don't want to give a false sense of security. I do think the dynamics are going to be enough to overcome this. We have a ton of clouds, and as Paul mentioned about some of the rain moving through, oftentimes when you have clouds and some drizzle and light rain around, that helps to suppress the severe weather threat a little bit. I do think on a day and how the atmosphere is primed up today that we will have the opportunity for bad weather, severe thunderstorms, damaging straight line winds, tornadoes, even as we are seeing the clouds. That is awesome. Welcome to the States from England visiting into Arkansas. Glad to have you on board. We talk about England a lot as well. We mentioned England in one of our streams with that big storm out in the North Atlantic over the last couple of days, cranking up the waves for the UK. So if you are interested in some of the weather, we'd love to have you on board if you subscribe. Every now and then I'm going to keep on drinking the caffeine or some water, because it's going to be a long day, unfortunately. So in that area where you are, I'm not sure, let's see, I don't know what part of Arkansas you're in, Paul, but the southern side certainly is more favored for the severe weather threat. You see that slight risk there, at least it's called slight. It's 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. The higher opportunity for severe weather is going to be mainly in Louisiana. We're going to have a warm front coming up, and that is going to help to introduce more low-level spin to the atmosphere. You can see how these clouds over here are a little more brighter. These are where those nasty thunderstorms are. Those little circles there are the official tornado reports from last night. That is awesome. That is awesome. That helps out to let me know where you are exactly tuning in from. But again, the main severe weather threat later on this afternoon, and certainly we're under the gun right now. We are getting some nasty weather in and around Dallas, and especially east of Dallas and Fort Worth. But it's going to be later on tonight in East Texas and into southern and central Louisiana, and then into western Mississippi. Now, that severe weather threat is going to continue for the rest of, and I'll turn on the day 4 or day 2 and day 3 severe weather risks in a second here. But just because we're not highlighting that enhanced risk, this is only going until from now until 12 o'clock or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind, that we're likely going to have overnight severe weather in places like Mississippi and into Alabama, through Montgomery, the panhandle of Florida, into that as well. Not far from Fayetteville. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining on. We'll be with you a few more times. Hey, Christopher from Wisconsin, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining. We're going to get back to the snow side in a little bit. I want to show you the future radar of what could happen here. This is the high-resolution future radar. We'll get back to some of those snow totals in just a second. Again, Wisconsin, at least the northern side, we're going to get some good snow from this. Here we go looking into the afternoon. So this is now at about 5 or 6 o'clock. And then this is where round 2 of the severe weather threat really gets going again. This is going to be the main event, so to speak. Again, they're going to be impactful, potentially dangerous weather going on until about 3 to 4 o'clock in East Texas. But the widespread potential outbreak of this system, outbreak of severe weather, potentially and likely strong tornadoes, is going to occur after about 4 or 5 o'clock. So we are looking now at about 6 p.m. We have a few little guys in central Louisiana. The main band, though, is back here, and we're looking for these little kidney bean-shaped things. Those are those supercell thunderstorms that can start to pop up a little bit later on this afternoon. As we go deeper into the event, it gets worse. And this is one of the things that we're concerned about. This is the time here. This is going to be midnight. And, I mean, we are talking about, that's a supercell being depicted here by the high res. We've got a few more out here. And, again, this is midnight. So we are really going to have the opportunity, again, for an all-night thing starting late this afternoon in Texas, progressing through the evening through Louisiana, and then moving, unfortunately, into Mississippi, southern Alabama, and into the panhandle of Florida overnight and into early tomorrow morning. Welcome back. Now I know who you are. That's awesome. Welcome back to the live stream. It's great to have you back, and it's great to hear that you family didn't take major damage from the last round of severe weather. We are keeping our fingers crossed again. I do think the main threat with this, but we're going to go forward in time. I'll turn off the telestration to clear up the screen. But you see here, this is going to be, my gosh, this is, get my bearing straight, this is about 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we're back in that enhanced risk again, and all of these are supercells in and around New Orleans, Baton Rouge. There's Hattiesburg for reference, and all of that is going to be pushing towards Hattiesburg tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, and just a nasty line of thunderstorms with likely embedded supercells in this mix. So we highlighted this last week, that this was going to be a multi-day severe weather threat in addition to a cray-cray blizzard going on the northwest side of this system, on the cold side of this system. And then it continues Friday, really Thursday into Friday, in the Northeast, in New England, with another round of very, very heavy snow. So if you're watching from New England, we are not going to be unscathed by this. I do think if you're watching from the I-95 corridor, we are going to miss out on the big-time snow totals. I do think this is going to be more of an interior New England event. Nonetheless, we'll be impacted by a cold, ugly rain. In the short term, though, we are concerned about the potential for some strong tornadoes and then, obviously, a life-threatening blizzard if you are caught in this in Nebraska, in western South Dakota where blizzard warnings are in effect. I want to show you another product here. This is going to be the same model, the high-res rapid refresh, showing the potential for these storms to spin. So we call this the updraft helicity in the meteorology world. And when you really see the darker oranges and reds, that's where we're going to have some issues. So this is as we move into 11 o'clock tonight, 10, 11 o'clock. Note where we have this big corridor here of strong spin, low-level spin in the atmosphere. That continues, and then as I showed you there with the future radar, this unfortunately then ramps back up as we get into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. So I want to stop. I know I have a lot of friends watching from Mississippi from the last outbreak of severe weather and tornadoes just 2 weeks ago now, just about 2 weeks ago. But this is where I'm going to get really concerned Wednesday afternoon and evening, right in this corridor from about Baton Rouge to New Orleans, including Hattiesburg, just south of Jackson, Mississippi. And again, all of these could be rotational tracks where supercells could be tracking, especially in the darker yellows, oranges, and certainly the reds. That's that very intense spin in the atmosphere. So that is something that we are going to be watching very closely. So again, this main severe weather threat does not end today. And in fact, I will show you the official outlook again from the Storm Prediction Center as we get into. I'm going to turn off the satellite scan here. They have both of the mesoscale channels over this area. I mean, maybe not. Okay, I just messed up and put on the other one again. Anyway, this is the severe weather threat for tomorrow. And we're back in that enhanced risk. And I think, again, it could get really ugly from about Jackson, Mississippi, into Hattiesburg, Gulfport, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and then continuing late into the evening in the panhandle of Florida. That threat then continues towards the Florida Peninsula, although I do think we're gradually going to see this severe weather threat start to wind down a little bit. But I do think on Thursday we could start off with a tornado threat right in the panhandle, pretty much on the northern end of this risk area, from St. Augustine, Jacksonville, north of Orlando to Savannah. This is going to be the best opportunity, I think, for storms to spin. More of an outside shot down in here, and then gradually that line weakens as we get deeper into the evening, as you get south and east of Orlando. Yeah, it has been rough in New Orleans. It's crazy. There was, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, there was that very crazy video of that big tornado going through parts of downtown. But man, we are hoping we get through this unscathed. But unfortunately, we are already seeing that severe weather threat. I mean, everything that was going up this morning in and around Dallas and Fort Worth and even southern Oklahoma, it was spinning. And I mean, the atmosphere is not even as primed as what it's going to be later on today or tomorrow in those risk areas that I just showed you. So we're going to be watching that very, very closely. Again, I'm planning on going live multiple times today to check in on the atmosphere as this system evolves and as the environment evolves. So if you're interested, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the alert bell, and then you will be notified when we do go live or post new content. And then, of course, we'll likely be live multiple times tomorrow afternoon and into the evening as this severe weather threat shifts further into the deep south, Mississippi, Louisiana, the eastern side anyway, and then Alabama. This is a truly beast of a storm, a remarkable storm going through, and we can check in on before we get back up. And he just mentioned about Fayetteville, and again, we are on the lower end of the severe weather probabilities. It's not zero, though, in Fayetteville. It's just a little bit lower than what we'll see likely in extreme southern Arkansas and into Louisiana. But here's the radar where you are at watching from Fayetteville, where that heavy rain is starting to push back through. Again, there's nothing severe. There's nothing damaging here, but the rain is very, very heavy. That's what those darker yellows are Again, just getting in to where you are, again, just outside of Fayetteville. So that's what's going on there. I'll zoom out to kind of show you, and I keep on accidentally changing my marker width there, and it keeps on getting a little too beefy to point things out. But there is a clearing line that we'll be moving through. I'll put that radar into motion for you, and all of this kind of heavy rain is going to be moving like that. So give another 20, 30 minutes, I think, and then you're going to be drying out, or at least you'll see the heaviest stuff start to come to an end, and then it'll likely be raining more of that light to moderate stuff as we get in the next couple of hours. So to be clearing things out just a little bit before we get another push, I think maybe later on this afternoon. Now, as we move back up into the blizzard side, I know I have at least one person from Wisconsin, and we can take a look at some of those things there. I'm not sure what part of Wisconsin. So if you want to include that, we can check in some of the things. Right now, what you're seeing are the big time bright clouds kind of dimmed here, so we can see what the radar is doing, because that's our main focus. Here's where the blizzard is out here, and again, it doesn't look like much on radar. We do have a healthy dry slot. A dry slot a lot of the times is a robber of a massive snowstorm, but so far, so northern Wisconsin, awesome. We're going to take a look at, I'm going to show you the high-res future radar. I'm going to switch some things around, then we'll go into Wisconsin in just 1 second if you hang with me, if you have a minute. But this is the main event. We highlighted this on our video yesterday, that we thought that it was going to be in and around Pierre, points to the west in western South Dakota, and then really getting crushed on the South Dakota, Nebraska border and through the panhandle. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, keep in mind, we have wind gusts right now, again, as expected, of about 50 to 60 miles an hour in the panhandle. You do not want to be driving down I-80 right now. There's I-80 for reference. There's North Platte. Again, the heaviest stuff now just to the north of I-80. I know we had a lot of truckers on when we went live the other night. So if you're traveling in that area, again, I'm sure you know about it. But just another heads up, back into Wisconsin, we don't have anything falling yet that is likely going to change. Again, you see all these little pink icons here. This is from the ice that fell earlier this morning, and that was to be expected. Ice storm warnings are in effect. We largely mentioned about Sioux Falls was going to miss out on the fun part of the storm. We had some freezing rain early. Now we're just going to get into a plain cold rain. There is a ton of warmth just surging up through Iowa in southern Minnesota. I do think later today that ice threat is going to slide back in here. All right, so Christopher, I promised that we would take a look at your high-res radar or future radar and kind of show you what's going on. So when we really get into our stuff a little bit later tonight, so now this is going to be Tammy, how's it going? Thank you for joining the live stream. I hope you are being safe, and I hope you have a way to get some of the watches and warnings that could be issued a little bit later on today. We'll go back into Texas in just a second and take a look at some of the active weather that is going on close to you. But in terms of that snow moving into Wisconsin, really closing in on Oshkosh and Eau Claire, you see it kind of starting with that pink color. That's the wintry mix, some of the sleet mixing in. No one ever liked that to rob of a good snowstorm. But then as you get further north into Wisconsin, that's where we're kind of protected a little bit. May start out as a little bit of rain and then eventually transition back into snow, especially north of Wausau towards Rhinelander, and then closer to Ironwood. This is going to be at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the snowstorm for us really starts to crank up a little bit tomorrow in northern Wisconsin, and then this kind of wraps around and pushes back through as this storm occludes, as we call it. The center of low pressure kind of goes back into the colder air. That's when it's kind of at its strongest point or starts to really fizzle out here. But you see some of that heavy snow closing back in on Wausau, back in on Minneapolis and Eau Claire, and then in Rhinelander, that's when we really have the cold. We're really entrenched into that cold. Taking you further out, I mean, there you go into the northern half of Wisconsin. I'll pull my telestrator back out because it might be a little hard to see exactly. For reference, there is Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then there's Wausau, and then into Rhinelander, and we're looking at a good 6 or probably more than that. I think in my official forecast yesterday, I know it's a little bit. I forecast, I think, 6 to 12 inches for the official forecast. We could certainly eclipse that, especially closer to the lake. We're going to get some lake enhancement by Rhinelander. All right, so that is a great question. It's one of the number one questions that I've gotten over the past couple of days here. I actually have a link in the description too, and I'll see if I can post it. If sometimes I'm a little uncoordinated and can't walk and chew gum to post a link and talk at the same time, but we'll try our best. But long story short here, I do think there's going to be a chance. The second half of December looks really, really active, even as far south as Arkansas. I listed for the potential for a white Christmas. I had decent probabilities, at least higher than normal probabilities, for the Panhandle, Texas, Oklahoma, and then rolling on through Arkansas as well. I think that's where we're looking, and then drawing up towards interior New England. So while we may miss out on a white Christmas on the I-95 corridor, I think we might have a better shot to do it in Arkansas. It's not a guarantee, just that I am going to put another video out on that white Christmas potential on Monday, December 19th. So if you're interested in that, we would love to have you again on board. You can hit the subscribe button or the alert bell, and then you'll be alerted when we post new content. Of course, we're going to be working to update this multi-day cross-country, coast-to-coast storm here over the next few days. And then Monday, I'll be looking to post an update to my white Christmas forecast as things become a little more in view, because it is getting a little crazy. December, this is kind of the start of a very active stretch. So I want to go back to East Texas. I'm just looking at, again, where Tammy said that she was watching from. I'm just going to pull that back up in the chat here to check it out. I know she mentioned East Texas, but want to get specifically. So bear with me a little bit. So yes, so that is where, there it is, New Boston. All right. So right along the Red River, or just south of the Red River. Here's the deal. We're going to be looking toward the northwest corner of this. So if Tammy, if you are still here in the chat with us, let me pull back the chat. We're going to be pretty much right up in here. Okay? I know that's a really big circle, but just to kind of direct your attention, and that's because it's impossible to predict where exactly we're going to see a supercell form, but there's a pretty good idea that we are going to have supercell thunderstorms in that area. And I'll show you the official risk again in just 1 second. I'll turn the telestration off, but you see how ugly this could be. And if you're familiar with Tyler, that shows up on the map because that's a major reporting site. There's Shreveport, there's Texarkana, and then we're kind of right up in here a little bit. So our main severe weather threat is going to be, that is 1 o'clock. So really in the next hour to 3 hours, that'll be. Hey, David, good to see you again. Good. I'm glad it's not so bad so far. And I don't think the worst of it for you was going to be the ice in the morning. So I think it is going to be okay. It's going to get really windy, that cold rain, and then maybe ending with a little bit of snow as this thing really pulls away. So I'm glad to hear that it's not bad with some of the ice that was reported around Sioux City earlier today. So I really want you to pay attention, Tammy, over the next couple of hours. And this is why, again, there's the whole view there. That's what this thing looks like, and it's cranking out. Let's see if some of these 3 inches of snow being reported there. So we have 3 inches in western South Dakota now. We have 6 inches just to the southwest of Pierre. So these are some real-time reports coming in over the last 3 hours. 6 inches again just south of Pierre. We don't have any official reports coming in, at least fresh ones anyway from Nebraska, but this is where it's really been churning out. So I'm assuming that we are already north of 6 inches of snow, north of North Platte. If you live in the panhandle of Nebraska or South Dakota or northern Nebraska, I would love to know if you've measured or what you've seen so far. Just like David put in the chat that it wasn't too bad. It's just a little rain right now. And as we take a look at Sioux Falls, obviously he's there. He's right on the money, of course, with that. That pink representing where we had the ice, that has now shifted to the north of Sioux Falls. I-90 is right here, cutting across southern Minnesota into Nebraska, or into South Dakota, excuse me. And then there is the rain. And we mentioned about that this was, I don't want to say a non-event because there was ice there, but because all the cold is about back here, we have a ton of warmer air surging through, and it's that warmer air being shoved in and being pulled in by this main area of low pressure. That is why that we're talking about the severe weather threat in the south being so nasty, because it's so unseasonably warm down there. It's so unseasonably humid for us, and the dynamics are more of like a springtime storm rather than December 13th. So that's crazy. And again, we've already seen that on display in parts of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, getting back into eastern Texas, we're going to get close here for Tammy if she is still watching. See, there's New Boston. I was trying to get close enough so that we could see where exactly you are. Here is where we're going to have the worst of the weather. So again, New Boston, let me pause the loop here. And then we're going to dissect some of these storms to your west. Again, we're about maybe an hour or two away from these storms being in New Boston. All of the nasty stuff now is closing in on Sulphur Springs, Paris. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in play here. That is the red color that you see. This is going to be for the threat of hail, about the size of ping pong balls, and 60-mile-per-hour winds. These things are racing too. And that's also a thing to note for later on today when we do get that tornado threat going. These supercells might be moving very, very quickly. There's a lot of wind energy screaming through the lower levels of the atmosphere. It's helping to enhance that tornado threat later today, but it's also going to make these things move really quick. So these are going to come up on you. So I can't stress enough. Again, there's no garbage on this channel. We don't hype anything. But I do want you to pay attention very, very carefully tonight, because when you get the severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning, these are likely going to come up on you really fast. So there's not going to be a ton of time to react to anything. So please make sure you're vigilant. If you are going to bed, make sure you have your local news or local weather app from your respective news outlet that you trust, to make sure you have a way to get your warnings and make sure that alert tone is on full blast, or a NOAA weather radio, also a great tool, of course. Make sure that is on full blast, and give me a thumbs up if you do have a way to get your warnings, or post in the chat if you have a way to get your warnings. And if you don't, now is a good time to download that. Again, check out your local news weather app, or check those batteries in the NOAA weather radio, because it is going to wake you up. That's its purpose. It's like a fire smoke detector for bad weather. And of course, you guys down in this area know that all too well, unfortunately, how rough the weather can be at times. We've had a rough several years. Nonetheless, here is where I'm going to take a closer look here. We're going to switch things over. We're going to go to my high resolution radar, and we're going to get in deep here and take a look what is going on. But you see there, the darker, that pink color there, that's some real nasty stuff. That's where we had the potential for that large hail really coming into Cooper, Texas. Here is Sulphur Springs on I-30. Line of severe thunderstorms here, especially. You see that blue color popping up. That's where we're really going to get in on some strong hail. This is an early heads up in Emory, Texas. Lone Oak, this is on our doorstep. Yikes, that's a lot of big hail. Just going around some different radar products here just to kind of check to see what these storms are doing. And you see all the hail reports. So there is, just out of this line. So again, that's the one thing too where getting these storm reports are very helpful to forecasting this line. There's ground truth here that while we aren't, of course, seeing the big time spin, which is to be expected. Again, the main tornado threat comes later this afternoon and evening, so I want you to know that. But we do have train spotters reporting 1.5 inch size hail near Fate, Texas, just a little while ago. And then quarter size hail with that same line a little bit further back to the south and west in Heath, Texas. So this thing is cranking out strong winds, and there's some wind damage reports here. Tree damage near Blue Ridge, Texas, in Collin County. And then back a little bit further, a couple of hours ago, more damage at a shopping center in Plano. So right now it's listed as thunderstorm wind damage. I'm sure the Weather Service is going to go out and inspect that to see if in fact if it was a tornado. It may end up being that because, again, that's a lot of damage. Straight line winds can do that, but you need a really, really significant straight line wind gust. And then this is the thing. And again, the atmosphere isn't even, it's primed, but it's going to get even more primed for severe weather. Just a couple of hours ago, again, a wind gust near 60 miles an hour reported at the Dallas Redbird Airport at the official instruments there. So there's a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere that is just going to crank up a little bit later on tonight. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to let you guys go for this round. Again, in East Texas, Southwest Arkansas, we do have a tornado watch until 5 o'clock local time. This is not the main tornado watch yet. We are likely going to see several more issued, unfortunately, by the National Weather Service later on this afternoon and into the evening as this main threat gets back out into East Texas, southern Arkansas, and then most of Louisiana, then Mississippi. So keep that in mind. But be on the lookout again because conditions are favorable. Again, that's what a watch means, that conditions are favorable. If you do get a warning, whether it's severe thunderstorm or a tornado, it means that the potential for a damaging winds or a tornado is happening or is about to happening. Again, when you see that warning, that's when you take action. Get into the interiormost room, maybe go out and get a bike helmet if it's close by, or at least cover your head. I know it sounds weird getting a bike helmet, but we always talk about this on this channel, that most of the fatalities and serious injuries during a tornado do occur from flying debris rather than you being sucked up or anything like that. So that's important to note, but pay attention to that. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this live stream. If you like tracking the weather, if you like talking about it, or just want to stay informed, please give us a thumbs up. That really does help more people see this live stream and this content. And if you do like to follow that and want to stay informed, please consider subscribing. If you hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell, you're going to be posted anytime we post new content. You're going to be alerted to any time that we post new content. We're planning on going live sometime early in the afternoon as to check up on the atmosphere again in that main zone. We're going to break down again what's going on with the blizzard portion of this storm as well. There's just so much going on. This is a very dynamic system. And then, of course, we're going to go live during the severe weather event itself. And that's likely going to be late this afternoon through the evening and likely parts of the overnight as well. So we've got you covered here on this channel. Again, if you're interested in following that, if you live in these areas, or if you're just interested in what is happening and enjoy the weather, please subscribe. Again, there's no garbage on this channel. We break things down as we see it. Again, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegis. Thank you for tuning in to this live stream. We'll catch you back here in a few hours. I hope to catch you in the chat a little while later. Thanks for watching, guys. Please be safe.